All right, folks, so you join us here actually at the main stage where, you know what, for the first time in a really long time, I've actually got to sit and play some of a game at UK Game Village, which is pretty awesome. I'm here with Dan, who is the author and the designer of Land After the Crash, which is very, very cool. Can you just give a little brief overview of it, and then we'll sort of dive in, because I have thoughts about this one. So.
Okay, thank you. So the idea is that you've crashed on the first planet outside of our solar system, and you play the role of a corporate representative, and most of the crew have died, so you're just sort of trying to build the colony base from the survivors. It's a resource management strategy game where you develop the resources from the board, and you have a tableau building element for developing the crew. And the idea is that you're completing these missions, and the player who completes the most mission stars wins the game.
Yeah. Now, I dived into this and we had a little bit of a teach. It was about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, something like that. And after that, I think we pretty much grokked how the game worked, which is always nice to have when you're diving into a board game. I was playing as Green, and Jerry, who's no longer here because he's dead, I put him in an airlock and sent him out into space. No, I didn't really. He was playing as Red. And it was really interesting straight off the bat for me, the fact that you've got so much sort of customization and modularity in the way that even the game sets up. So obviously the way that tiles come out on the board is obviously very different from the very beginning. And then you get your different choice of crew at the beginning as well. Yep. So that, on top of that, and then all of the missions immediately means that whenever you're sitting down to play this, it feels like you're going to have an entirely different experience each time you sit down to dive into it. So no one trick can get you through the game.
Yeah, exactly. So, you're exactly right. It's taken us over 10 years to make around our day jobs, and over that time it must have been, as well as going to expos and so forth, that we've had over 1,000 play tests. And that feeling that you've gotten on that's really resonated with you is something that we still love playing the game, because there's still more to explore. And the fact that you can keep uncovering new things that you haven't seen before, I think has that sort of addictive itch that's you want to scratch.
One of the things that I quite liked about when I sort of dove in and sort of tried to get my head around how it was all working is you see your initial crew here, as you can see them under the camera at the moment. So they come with their sort of like science values, and you've got engineering and stuff like that. That's all tied to different keywords as well that you got for them as well. Nice artwork on all the characters, which is always nice to see. It's very good. And you've got little abilities that they have as well at the same time. And these are all then linked into these missions that you're trying to complete at the end of the game, well, as you go through the game, which takes place over 4 years.
4 game years.
4 game years. So as you'll see, if you come in here, Rob, and sort of have a look at this one. Actually, let's show off one that I actually did. That's a good idea, isn't it?
This one, because you've just...
Oh, I'm about to do this one, yeah. So I'm about to do this one, which is called Organ Shortage. And as you can see, this is the amount of victory points that you're going to get, essentially, from when you do this, complete it. For completing it, you need to have at least one crew member who has diplomatic and fanatical, which I had over here on my science officer, who was leading the way, Hal Forrest. And then also 7 in science, which I did have there on the card as well. You then have the resource element of that as well, which is tied into this, which is where you build up your resources over here on the map of the planet that you're on. And then that gives you bonuses and rewards for completing each of those as you go through. And what's really nice about the way that this has been set up, and I'll pass back to you in a second as well, is that you can chain stuff. So if I'd had the kind of everything together in the course of one turn in 1 year, I could have potentially have done the efficacy study that then linked straight into the organ shortage, which then linked into something else at the same time. So even though you're essentially only getting 4 years worth of play, which doesn't seem like a lot, there is a lot of things you can do as your engine builds up throughout the course of the game.
Yeah, so. Exactly. I think one of the nice things in terms of that engine building is that you can choose how you want to play the game. Because you can, for example, say, I'm not really going to focus on the crew this game, I'm just going to try and develop the board and achieve the objectives that are the construction missions. And then you might be going down that path, and you might get a crew member who facilitates that better, or conversely, you might get a crew member that starts to buff your crew really well, and you're like, actually, I could lean in this direction now.
Very cool.
And it's that sort of thing where what we've tried to do is make a puzzle that's sort of constantly shifting, such that you're always just chasing that movement, and you've got the flexibility to say, well, I'm actually going to move in this direction or this one based on what you think is going to win you the game.
One of the other elements of it that I really quite enjoyed is this kind of like extension of how this builds up as well. So as you can see, we've got little sort of like buildings, essentially constructions that we've put on different sections of the map. And as you go through, you can kind of move through adjacency into different regions of it and build things up. And you'll see the little numbers on them, the resources that they generate, and they sort of build up over time. And you sort of go through them as you build up, and you sort of do that. What was really interesting in this is that there's a lot of games where you dive into something like this, which has a kind of like 4xe quality to it.
Yeah.
And for a lot of the game, you'll spend the first 2 turns on like 2 resources. But because you can do those massive boosts up here using the resources you've got to get something like 6 energy straight out of the gate, it meant that I could get access to so many more ways of scoring victory points, essentially.
Yeah.
In turn 2, which was cool.
And that was the main thing, and very specifically from playing Catan all the way back when, it was the feeling that when you've just got that feeling of like, oh, I can do that, the game ends.
Yeah.
And we wanted to really recreate that. So right from the, like, as you mentioned, like you go into the second year once you sort of understand a bit, and you can really actually play with what you've got. And that's a very deliberate design, such that the game will feel like that for years 2, 3, and 4. And you're enjoying then the interaction of what you actually want to do with this abundance of resource.
It's really funny. It's like that kind of like point salad element too, which I quite do enjoy just some of the games. The other thing that I really like about this as well is that it's not all nicey-nicey. We may have crash landed, but there's still a pecking order, and people don't like each other. So if you come in and look at these, Rob, you can do things like steal items from other players. Like Jerry could have put something on one of his characters over here, and I could have used the fact that I have enough in each of those categories to steal stuff off him. And I think he had a kill on one of his cards somewhere over.
There's a kill there.
So this is a really interesting one actually here if we go through it. I put a lot into just 2 crew members. You can have 4 in your roster as a whole. But if you go tall with your characters like that, and something like kill crew comes along, if you don't have a specific resource, which we'll get into a second, to protect them, they're gone.
Yep.
And you've suddenly lost all that, and you've got to start thinking where you're going to go with your strategy next time around.
Yep.
However, don't worry, you can't just kill someone outright. There is something called a veto tracker, which is you can use influence to pay for veto tokens.
Yep.
And regardless of how much that would do, you can essentially cancel that card from happening. It doesn't affect the other player, they don't spend the resources for it as well. But it means that you can keep your guys alive, which is what I had to do. And then I had an interesting moment here where at the start of as we're going through the round, I'd obviously gone down to 0 on the veto tracker.
Yeah.
I have no idea what action cards or whatever Jerry had in his hands. So if he had another kill crew, I elected, I'm not going to bother using my influence to boost up the veto tracker. I could have just lost my character outright. So it's those decisions which is really interesting to see how it all comes together.
Yeah, and the difference is that Jerry's used a lot of influence and gone down the track.
Yeah.
So he might not be able to get any victory points on the top end, where you're maybe only a couple of missions away, and you're there gaining,
building it back up again.
Yeah. So there's very much that sort of like risk and reward and bluff and double bluff element to it as well. So I think when you have played a couple of times, or when your gaming group has played a couple of times, and you know the game, then the game becomes more like playing the players on the game. Because if you know that your friend is the guy that just wants to mess you up, then you're probably going to restock. And if you're the kind of gaming group who thinks, hey, take that isn't for me, then you don't have to play those cards. You can recycle them out, and you can play the entire game without any negative actions. So it really, hopefully, appeals to, both camps.
There were a couple of other things I wanted to sort of like note as well as we sort of go a bit deeper. So at the beginning of every year, essentially you bid for who's going to be first player using your influence, which we talked about there as well. And then you get a event card, like you can see the ones here. And this is where the first player will essentially make a decision as to what's going to happen throughout the rest of that turn, through that year. So in this case, I made sure that everyone could get their hands on some items, but they had to spend influence to do it. In this one, Jerry basically meant that we spent water and we got energy, I think, from that one, which was quite cool. And that was going to be changing every single time you're playing the game. But look how many event cards there are. And there's only 4 years in the game, so you're going to be coming back and doing different events every time you sit down. And then on top of that, you've got all of these cards at the back here, which are going to give you extra victory points. And these are little kind of like achievement markers you're trying to hit throughout the game. And as you can see here, I went for Upgrade Expert, got some of those. Jerry got Operations Honours, as you can see there, building up some of his characters. So there's loads of interesting ways for you to aim to get those big scores in the game, which is always fun.
Yeah, and one of the things that we actually put as an example in the rule book is that there are multiple aspects to that scoring. So when you get toward the later game, it could be that you complete a mission like this, where you qualify with the number of sectors, but the bonus is that you can move 3 structures anywhere.
Okay.
So, for example,
flip this around so they can see that as well. Yeah? So
you could get 4 stars for the mission itself. It could complete the set of 3, which gives you a 5th,
and the Upgrade Expert at the same time.
It could then give you the Upgrade Expert, which flips because you've just sold that, so that's now a 7-point mission. And then you've moved, for example, let's say that this was the construction one in a different game, then you could score an extra point. So from the completion of one thing, it could ramp. And it could feel like you're behind, but it seems that the way that the game is structured is that there's always a way for you to somehow, if you can see it, you can get the win.
The other thing I liked about it as well, as you can tell, I quite like this game, is that your turn, you've got lots of like free actions you can do. So a lot of the things that you consider maybe like busy actions, maybe in some games, just whack them on. And then you use the other things like using resources and all that kind of stuff to kind of complete your turn. So you've got that thing of you don't necessarily end your turn after a certain amount of actions. Do as many as you can, or you think you want to, and then you just move a little tracker, end the year, everyone plays out the rest of their turns, and you go from there, which I think is really, really cool. So, yeah, I think I really like Land After the Grass. It's very cool. So obviously we've sort of played this version of the game here, which still looks great as it is anyway. You've got really nice tiles and all that kind of stuff here as well. Some interesting thought going into the mechanics of all of this as well, and sort of how it feels in a tactile nature.
And
so
that's something that we encountered in the game. So from playing tile placement games, it's often the case where the moves that you want to do encroach off the edge of the table. And because we structured a game around tile placement, we wanted to build a structure that you could move in one piece. So as the tiles interlock with one another, you're able to slide that around such that if you wanted to then play, a piece here.
it's not, you're not ruining anyone else's day and all that kind of thing as you move things around.
Exactly. So that aspect of the game is such that as this thing grows, you can build it into the available space as you can maneuver it around.
Cool. So where are you? What's the state of the game at the moment? Are you sort of in development, moving towards crowdfunding? What's the idea?
So we're in a situation where we would love to have you basically help us bring this into the world. We're a bit stuck because we've got about 1,000 followers on our Kickstarter Notify Me page, and we've been told that we need to get that much improved. And for a game that hopefully will bring a lot of joy to people's lives, if you like resource management strategy games and 4X games, that sort of thing, then basically tell your friends, follow us on Kickstarter. Our website is www.intrepid.games. We've got one of these new fancy websites. And from there, there's some more details on the game, and you can click the link and take it through to, hopefully, with your support, bringing this actually into the world so everyone can enjoy it.
Brilliant. I'd say I had a really good fun time playing through. Like, it was a full first year, and then we played through a little bit of our second year as well. It was really interesting. I kind of felt like I got it a little bit as well when I was diving in. So after that first turn, you really want that kind of feel when you're diving into something like this as well. So thank you very much for taking us through Lander after the crash. I hope everything goes well with crowdfunding and all that kind of thing. We'll have links and everything in the doobly-doo down below, so you can check those out and see what it's all about. I'd love to see this become a reality, and on many more tables, I think I'll say. So yes, awesome stuff indeed. Yeah, make sure to check out more of our videos in the live blog, and of course check out the live stream as well. And we'll see you folks very, very soon in a new video. Bye for now.